Point-blank war, the untold story of Canadian Special Forces in Kandahar. They call it the Forgotten War for a reason. While headlines focused elsewhere, a small group of elite Canadian operators were fighting for their lives in the narrow streets of Kandahar City. This is their story. My name is Major Thomas Reynolds. I wasn't there that night, but I've spent years collecting these accounts from those who were. The operators who've shared their stories with me have asked to remain anonymous. Their names have been changed, but their experiences are real. Spring 2011. Canada's combat mission in Afghanistan was drawing to a close. Most Canadian forces were preparing to head home, but not everyone. In the shadows of the war's final chapter, Canada's most elite warriors, operators from the Canadian Special Operations Regiment and Joint Task Force 2, were about to face one of their most harrowing battles yet. Captain Dave McLean had been in country for 4 months, a former infantry officer with a quiet demeanor that masked a razor-sharp tactical mind. We got the call just after midnight, Dave recalls. Intelligence indicated a high-value target had taken refuge in a compound in the western sector of Kandahar City. It was supposed to be a standard raid. Get in, capture the target, get out. But nothing is standard in war. Sergeant Sebastian Côté, a barrel-chested French-Canadian with 10 years of special operations experience, was the team's second in command. The moment we approached the compound, I knew something was wrong, Sebastian explains. The streets were too quiet. In Kandahar, silence is never a good thing. The team was partnered with Afghanistan's Provincial Response Company, a local counter-terrorism unit trained by Canadian forces. Together, they formed a formidable fighting force. But what awaited them would test the limits of their training, equipment, and resolve. As they breached the outer wall of the compound, all hell broke loose. The first explosion knocked me back 6 feet, Dave says. The insurgents had wired the entire compound with IEDs. They weren't trying to escape. They were waiting for us. The firefight that followed was unlike anything Canadian forces had experienced in Afghanistan. The insurgents dug into fortified positions inside the buildings, unleashed a barrage of automatic weapons fire. Corporal James Wilson, a communications specialist attached to the CSOR team, found himself pinned down behind a crumbling wall. The rounds were impacting inches from my position. I could feel the concrete dust hitting my face with each impact. I've never been so certain I was about to die. But these weren't ordinary soldiers. They were Canada's elite, selected, trained, and forged into warriors capable of operating in the most extreme conditions imaginable. As the night wore on, the Afghan forces began to fatigue. The sustained combat, the constant threat of hidden explosives, and the psychological toll of urban warfare pushed them to their limits. By 3 a.m., only a handful of operators remained in the fight. Among them was Sebastian, who made a decision that would later earn him Canada's second highest military honor. I looked at Dave and said, "We need to end this now. The longer we stayed, the greater the risk of civilian casualties come daylight." What followed was a textbook example of close-quarters battle tactics. Using coordinated suppressive fire, Sebastian and 2 other operators moved to within 15 meters of the insurgent position. I could hear them talking, Sebastian recalls. They were preparing for martyrdom. We had minutes, not hours. In a move of extraordinary bravery, Sebastian crawled forward alone, using the shadows for cover. When he reached the building's exterior wall, he slid a fragmentation grenade through a narrow metal grate into the enemy position. The explosion rocked the compound, but incredibly, the insurgents continued to fight. That's when Dave made the call to bring in JTF-2, Canada's Tier 1 Special Operations Unit. Master Corporal Eric Tremblay, a JTF-2 sniper, had been monitoring the situation from an overwatch position 300 meters away. When we got the call to assist, we already had a plan. We'd been watching the entire engagement unfold through our optics. JTF-2's solution was audacious. Using a .50 caliber sniper rifle, a weapon typically used against personnel at extreme ranges, they would breach the compound's rear wall, creating a new angle of attack. The first round hit exactly where we aimed, Eric says. By the 6th round, we had created a hole large enough for the team on the ground to exploit. This unexpected breach allowed Dave's team to fire rockets and grenades directly into the insurgent position. After nearly 6 hours of intense combat, the enemy guns finally fell silent. Dawn broke over Kandahar City, casting long shadows across the battlefield. The combined CSOR and JTF-2 team conducted a final assault on the position, but met no resistance. Inside, they found what remained of their adversaries. 2 bodies, weapons still clutched in their hands. There's no glory in taking a life, Dave reflects, but there is honor in protecting the innocent. That night, we prevented these men from carrying out attacks that would have killed dozens of civilians. The operators returned to base as the city awakened, the residents largely unaware of the life-and-death struggle that had unfolded in their midst. The battle would receive no headlines back home, no public recognition of the extraordinary courage displayed that night. 6 months later, in a quiet ceremony, Captain Dave McLean and Sergeant Sebastian Côté were awarded the Star of Military Valor for their actions. Other team members received various commendations, their deeds recorded only in classified documents and in the memories of those who served alongside them. Today, these men and women continue to serve Canada, often in operations that will never be fully disclosed to the public. Their war continues away from the spotlight, guided by a simple creed: silent professionals. This has been the story of just one night in the longest war in Canadian history, a testament to extraordinary courage shown by ordinary Canadians who answered their country's call. They asked for no recognition, no parades, no monuments, but they deserve to be remembered. For those who fought at point-blank range in the shadows of Kandahar City, the mission continues.